Hello, listener, and welcome back to the Lonely Goalpost Podcast, where football stories deserve to be remembered. I'm Simon Higgins, and this week I'm joined by a very special guest, Boston United's Head of Performance, Mark Laws. We're talking World Cup drama, England's chances, Haaland, and we even sneak in a chat about Boston United, Norwich City, Mark Robins, and even how this rugby player somehow ended up playing right back at university. It's football chat, plenty of laughs, and another great football story to share. So grab a brew, get comfortable, remember to pass the pod, and let's get started. Hello there, listener. How are we doing? Another episode of the Lonely Goalpost World Cup edition. This time, I've got a sneaky little double date going on, just me and one other. And don't let his nickname of rugby fool you, because he certainly knows his football. He works in football. He's a established Norwich City fan. He is the head of performance at Boston United. I want to say in the Vauxhall Conference, but I know it's the National League, but I am old school. But I know him as my right back in BFP FC in the Adel League in Leeds Met University 2000 and 2003. Look it up. That he was up there with Gary Neville, Paul Parker and Gary Stevens. None other than Mark Rugby Laws. How you doing, Lawsy?
Mate, I'm very good. Well, that is an intro and a half. I think I probably racked up almost a handful of appearances that season, but I did score a goal as well.
You did. It wasn't against me, so it was in the right goal.
It was at the right end, yeah.
And what I used to like about you playing was you were playing in your rugby shorts, which was just a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
Those fives were out, and
I said that if you have me back on, I'll make sure I've got rugby shorts on. I have still got some from that same era.
Oh, mate, you know the intro? The intro was literally off the top of my head because I was driving home from work today, and I was scared what to say. And I'm thinking, 26 years, Lawsy, we've known each other this year.
That's a long time, isn't it?
And but we've had many a fat chat about football. And to be fair, you do whisper it quietly. You do talk a bit of sense. And
well,
I'm looking forward to it.
Sometimes I work in football, so I'm surrounded by people that know the game inside out.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm a fan, and I'm sort of like I've still got that sort of boyhood, I don't know, naivety of for the game, for the whole sport. But I do try to keep my ear to the door and pick up a little bit of sense here and there.
And then you hang around with people like us lot who think we know what we're talking about, talk a good game, and you're with people that eat and breathe it.
Yeah, but I still argue with them, don't worry.
I wouldn't expect anything less. So has pre-season started at Boston this week?
Yes, mate, yeah. So as we record now, it's Tuesday night. So the lads came in Thursday, Friday last week for testing. They had like half and half the group Thursday, half the group Friday to do all their tests. And
Nice.
Then yesterday, Monday, was the first day of pre-season proper.
Do they get
Monday, Tuesday, off tomorrow?
Were they annoyed when they have to come in on Thursday, Friday, and then be good for the weekend, or am I just thinking too old school here?
No, to be fair, mate, modern day players, even at our level, like the old Vauxhall Conference level, there's no like packet of fags down your socks for half time and
or for shin pads.
No, a little sip of Foster's on a cold day. It's mate, they're very professional. They look after themselves. It is full-time professional football, and to be fair, although it's like tier 5, step 1 football, the overlap between League 2 and the National League is massive. I think you have to go back, I don't know, over like 20, 30 years for a team that's gone up and come straight back down.
Yeah.
Yet teams that come down hardly ever go straight back up. You look at like your Carlisle, Sutton, Forest Greens, they were all in League 1 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And it's League 2 is very, very, very similar to the National League.
And I find it funny, like when you look at some of the teams in that National League, like You got Carlisle, massive club. You've had Rochdale, York through the years,
Yeah.
Stockport. Obviously, the teams that go up, like progressing, like your Salford, your Wrexhams. It's a good league, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, mate, it is very, very, very good league. Even like
Yeah.
Yeovil down your way,
Yeah.
Hartlepool. There's like some big clubs in there that are also like sleeping giants, for want of a better phrase. But you get a lot of good players as well, like really, really good players. Especially if you get like there's no end of lads. We've got lads in our squad that have grown up at Spurs, like gone through
Yeah.
Man City, Man United. They go all the way through like big academies, and then don't make the grade, and they just end up sort of falling down the ladder.
Do they have that sort of? I know we're supposed to be talking about World Cup, but keep this going like this. But the lads with the man, like the Manchester United, the Spurs sort of affiliations, do they have that? What you'd call that sort of professionalism? Would you notice that they've been bred at those clubs? Do they act a bit differently,
Um,
or is it a leveler? You know, they're back in with everyone else.
do you mean do they raise an eyebrow every time I ask them to do something because it's weird? Yeah, I do. Yeah, and if now you come to mention it, actually, yeah, it does happen quite often.
Wow.
You've, I don't know, you'd be surprised. But I
Yeah.
don't think it's that. I don't think that's that
No.
massive. Take something simple like a warm up. I like
Yeah.
you've come to one of our games
Yeah.
like when we played Yeovil, and you go and watch Bournemouth play in the Prem sort of
Yeah.
every few weeks, and I like to think, barring the surroundings and the opposition, you're just watching the warm up for 20 minutes. I think it's 10 a penny, pretty much the same. There'll be very, 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 very minor differences, but you wouldn't be able to think, bloody hell, I'm watching pub football here
No.
compared to Premier League football. So, like most of the stuff behind the scenes is like fairly standard throughout.
Yeah, well, I think you're doing yourself a disservice because I've watched a lot of Bournemouth games this season. I get there early, as you know, and I love
Yeah,
watching the warm ups. And when I was watching you at Yeovil, great warm up. I'm not just saying it; it was intense. But the boys were working hard. I like your little gadgets as well. You show me all the little stats, and I was mesmerised, mate. As you know, I just struggle with a Nokia 3210. So watching all that, and I know what you're like as well. So
yeah.
I knew
Not much better.
you struggled turning on the Amstrad at uni. So you done well, mate.
Yeah.
But no, it was great, and I've got to do a little tip of the hat to the National League because I go every year to watch Halifax play
Yeah.
with my old man, and we've been to Eastleigh, we've been to Yeovil, and again we saw yourselves, we saw Boston play at Yeovil, big clubs, big crowds, passionate crowds, great stadiums,
Yeah.
and it shows how strong English football is, and I guess that's going to lead us nicely, isn't it, into the World Cup. How you been finding it?
Um, I don't really like the group stages of
Mm.
tournaments, like especially this one. I don't know, controversial, going up to 48 teams from 32. I don't mind it, to be fair.
Yeah.
It adds more teams, increases my chances of ever working at a World Cup. If like the Faroe Islands get in or something when we have a 96 team World Cup,
You might
I
get a
might have a
game, mate.
chance.
You might get a
Yeah,
game.
mate,
You never know.
I might be playing. Yeah. Um, but I don't mind it. Like, the more the merrier in terms of teams. I don't mind it. But I just when you're watching like the the
Yeah.
the, the qualifying rounds, it's a bit boring, and it is a bit boring now. Like the juicy stuff starts coming in, the knockouts, and people crying and wishing they'd practice their penalties a bit
Mm.
more. It gets a little bit more exciting. So a little bit more now. I've been kickoff times don't do us any favors though, do they? Because
Horrible.
I'm usually in bed asleep by 9.
Yeah.
So I have the 6 o'clock one on, but I've got children running around like all
And, that,
over the
and they're
place.
selfish, aren't they? They don't get it, do they? They don't know. They're
Nah,
not going to let you sit and watch Japan v Brazil, are they?
they're not interested
Selfish.
in that, are they? No, no, not interested.
And I struggle to stay up for
Um,
Monday night football, so I know what you're on about.
yeah. The excitement's starting to grow. Let's say, like
Yeah.
now we get to the knockout stage, it gets a bit more interesting. Then all the games they mean a bit more and a bit more interesting.
No, definitely. And yeah, you're right about the timings because yesterday I got it because the Brazil game was on. I got home a little bit later, so I missed most of that. So the last 10 minutes, which was quite exciting. And then I watched a bit at the start of the Paraguay v Germany game. And obviously, I woke up with the news of penalty shootouts, double shootouts, and Germany and Netherlands are out. And I sort of feel that well, today could be a good day as well. But that was the start of the World Cup for me, and I sort of saw about, I don't know, 25 minutes, I think, which I was a bit
Yeah,
gutted about.
I was the same. I didn't see much of it at all. Didn't see
Mm.
much. I tried watching the highlights, but that was only because you asked me to do this. I thought I'd better do a bit of homework. I better do a bit of homework. Um,
Were the boys at the club this morning, like Boston, were they talking about it? Did they talk about like the World Cup, or they just
um,
beast mode?
to be honest, yeah, I think normally they would. I didn't really see many people this morning
Mm.
because I was running around everywhere trying to get
Yeah.
everything set up. Like yesterday, we didn't do any extra running, just a couple of nice little gentle ball drills. Whereas today, we chucked in some some reducers, as they like
Love it.
to go old school. Yeah, so I was setting loads of stuff up, and I wasn't privy to the dressing room chat this morning. But yeah, they do talk about it, and they'll stick games on, like replays on in the gym and in the change room and stuff. But again, it's just now it starts getting exciting. It's that'll ramp up a bit.
It will, won't it? And let's go in. Let's go all in on let's go in on England. We'll start with them. Now I missed England on Saturday because I was watching the Lightning season, Deacon Blue. So I watched the
Right?
plan was to record it, come in at 12 o'clock and watch it. But I got
Yeah.
home and I was absolutely knackered and fell asleep. So I woke up and watched the highlights in the morning without knowing the score. And I had a
Oh, you managed
feeling
to avoid the score.
I avoided the score. There was some annoying person on the train on the way home who just had his phone out really loud. And I just,
Yeah.
as you know what I'm like, I just walked around huffing and puffing, like muttering to myself. And that was my way of just blocking out any noise. And I got the vibe that there wasn't a goal. And I sort of had a vibe that the game was going to like flow. So when I was watching the highlights, I was thinking, here we go, here we go, here we go. And it was sort of in my mind, I knew there would be a goal, probably from a corner, and
Yeah.
and it sort of transpired like that. But so from my perspective, it was a win's a win. But what about you? You were probably a bit more with it than me, I would imagine.
Yeah. It was a bit boring, wasn't it?
Mm,
I don't know. Like, I know. Like in the Premier League, especially recently,
mm,
last 10, 15 years, we get like spoiled a little bit with like sexy tiki taka football.
mm,
Pep was introduced that sort of quite heavily. Arsenal were very good, renowned for sort of not shooting, just pass the ball into the net, and like so I kind of get it, and I do like free flowing, like attacking
mm,
football, but then I also understand that the most important thing is winning. So it doesn't matter how boring it is. Like if you just batten down the hatches, park a couple of buses, and then nick one on the counter attack, like a win's a win, especially in tournament football. So fair enough, got the win, qualify out the group, go top of the group, unbeaten because you can always chuck a banana skin in there. It was 1-2 drew one. Is that right? Am
yeah,
I
that's
not?
correct. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
and even with the draw, like at the time, that was a bad result, drawing a match that we could and should have won. But then you go like last tournament, did Argentina not lose their first match? They
Mm.
went on to win it.
Spain
If
did
you go
one
back
year
to
as
like
well.
yeah, France lost opening game of the season. Was that Senegal? Was it?
Yeah,
Um,
they've lost
a, f-
games.
a few years back, and I was even thinking, like, correct me if I'm wrong, you'll probably know this because you're a bit more of a stato than I am. But when Portugal won the Euros, didn't they either only won one match in the
It
90 minutes,
was,
or they
yeah,
got all the way to the final without actually winning a game? They just
it was a weird
drew
stat, wasn't it? Yeah, it
something
was,
ridiculous like
yeah,
that. They
like that. Yeah, I
drew
remember.
almost every single
Yeah,
game, yet still got to the final and won it. So. Um, I would like a bit more of a sexier performance though
yeah.
sometimes, just
Rude Hullet
because
style.
exactly that. Yeah, some total football. But wins a win, you qualify. See what
I've been
happens next.
I've been quite vocal because I think like he's picked like efficient players. Like there's not a lot. I don't think there's a lot of creativity. I actually thought the Bellingham cross for Kane's goal was brilliant because it was actually one of the only times I've seen someone get their foot on the ball, get their head up, and just do a dink rather than just be
Yeah,
charging around, running around everywhere, like getting around. And you know me, I love a bit of let's work hard, get stuck in, show that you're up for it. But sometimes you need that little bit of guile. And and I've always so Bellingham showing his worth because he's an outstanding footballer, and the goal he scored, the volley I thought was just exceptional. Like again,
Yeah.
you know science better than me in respects. How hard is it to do that when the ball's coming behind you and you're standing for someone's
It's like leaning
pushing you?
back, off
Yeah,
balance, yeah, and you've got a fully grown man who's a professional athlete trying
yeah,
to hold you back and push you over. Sort of like yeah, the strength was ridiculous, and it was like what would you call it, like an unorthodox finish. Like
yeah.
you're never going to practice anything like that. It's
No,
almost like do you remember like Owen's goal against Argentina, like the little
yeah,
flick that just got him past the first defender near the
yeah.
halfway line. Just little things like that that just it's not textbook. You don't ever practice it or learn it, but just little things like that that you can just do because you are so bloody good.
They just know
Um,
they can time it, can't they? They know they sort of have that sort of awareness, don't they? I
yeah,
guess.
they just understand the movement of the ball and the flight and like how to like the positioning. It's incredible, really, when you watch when like proper elite players up close. How it's scary how good they are. Then we
Yeah.
all sit at home having 6 pints deep, and we're like, I could have finished that. I
What
could have done that.
what's Harry Kane doing dropping back? And they don't
Yeah,
realize,
yeah, yeah.
he's still sprinting what, like probably I don't know what, would he be sprinting something like an 11-second 100 meters to get from this halfway line into the box? Would it be
Yeah,
something equivalent to that?
probably wouldn't be far off. Yeah, probably
Uh,
wouldn't be far off that. It'd be rapid. I always, when we used to have, even when, so when I was at Cambridge before a couple of years ago, we had Ryan Bennett and Michael Morrison were our two centre backs. Like
Yeah,
Morrow's just retired, like Charlton, Birmingham, like club captain, Reading, Portsmouth, and then Ryan Bennett obviously played in the Prem for Norwich
yeah,
and Wolves,
great
Swansea.
careers.
They were our two centre backs at like 34 and 38, and they were slow. Like, and that was seen as a problem because our centre backs were really slow. Yet on a Tuesday when we do like a max velocity sprint, and they're going the width of the box, a 40-meter width of the pitch sprint. You stand in front of them, you might as well have bloody Lawrence Dallaglio running at you because they are massive. They're like horses,
Yeah,
and they can bloody shift. And it's not that they're slow; it's just that everybody else is so quick
yeah.
that it makes them look a bit slower. So they're slow compared to really, really, really quick people, but they're still like the likes of the quickest people, the quickest person you know wouldn't even be able to keep within 10, 20 yards of them for like they're so quick.
Such a good point because when I was just sort of digressing a bit, when I was watching, like as I say, I watched the Bournemouth warm ups, and what I loved about the Bournemouth warm up, you end up with the old high intensity sprint at the end, and they run
Yeah.
off into the changing rooms. What they did, and I think this is Iraola's sort of intentions, they would end up finishing their sprint about 2/3 in the opposition's half. So you got
Mm.
someone like Semenyo just absolutely bolting towards them. And
Yeah.
and obviously it's a psychological thing, but I was watching how fast they're going, and that they're actually holding back as well because it's
Yeah.
it's before the match, and
They'll
you realise,
they'll be at 60, seventy
yeah,
percent just a little tickle, but they fly. Yeah,
and when you
I actually I do the same. So I always finish
yeah,
my like 40-yard run, come from the 18-yard box to the halfway line, knowing that it's going to take them 10, 15 yards to slow down, and then we're standing in the other
brilliant.
end. Like, yeah,
It's great, and also it just does a disservice doesn't it, when you hear like the sort of your Jamie Carragher's, all these co-commentators. I know Carragher's not commenting on the World Cup, but he's always been quite vocal, him and Neville, about like people that are slow and things like that. And you think, hang on a minute, they're not slow, and they know better than most, don't they? But
yeah.
and
You
and
comparing them to Usain Bolt, they're a bit slow, but compare them to literally anybody you've
yeah.
ever played with or known, they're definitely not.
So England against Congo, it's going to be one of those games, isn't it? It's going to be similar to what we've seen, isn't it? Like
It's got to be
unlocking,
go like on paper,
yeah,
7, 8 times out of 10, it has to be a nice little 2-0 win, a 3-0 win, barely lay a glove on us. Even if they park the bus for most of the game, even if we had 90% possession, and I know we struggled to break teams down a little bit, you got to say the vast majority of the time that has got to be just a very comfortable victory.
hmm
However, you're going to get them 1 or 2 times out of 10 where I think as well, teams now, you tend to find like in the olden days, it was a little bit more gung ho, sort of like everyone was trying to win every match. And now you get teams now are so savvy with their defensive setup and their defensive organisation. And you get teams that, a team that knows they're not as good technically or tactically as the opposition, you can just get everyone behind the ball, like 6-4-0 formation, and just make it really, really awkward for them. Throw in a couple of elbows and a couple of little stud down the Achilles here and there,
Oh,
stamp on a few little toes, and like even a team with like hardly any talent. Not that I'm saying they haven't got any talent, but even it's kind of the beauty of the sport, right? That on any day, like FA Cup upsets, all those types of things, like there is always a possibility that the good team can just have a really bad off day, miss a couple of sitters, and the less good team can frustrate them and nick a draw, and then who knows what happens. But I would like to think it would probably be the 70-80% chance that it's a comfortable win. What are you thinking?
yeah, I'm sort of like you really. I was really drawn into what Tuchel said about the way England are defending. Like it's front foot defending, so they're leaving themselves 1v1, so it's aggressive football, and it sort of
Mm,
clicks for me. That's made me realise why he's picked the players he's picked. Because again, you're talking about those little margins of pace and things like that. So England are going to be vulnerable on the counter attack, which we've probably seen in the last few games, haven't we? Where there's been these little
yeah,
1v1s, and there's that one when Spence got back, may have been a penalty, I think, or may not have been. And so I think there's definitely going to be a counter attack, and there will be vulnerabilities there. However, you just hope, like you've got Bellingham's looking good, big player stepping up on the big stage. Harry Kane is producing. They're the two. Again, I heard Roy Keane say you need more players turning up. There's only two that are showing up, and again, I thought that was a really really good point because we want a
yeah,
few more. And they played Senegal, I think, in the last 32 or last 16 last World Cup. I think they might have won 3-0 or something like that.
yeah,
I'm not saying this is Senegal, but again, I think I was going into that game. Oh, it's a tough game. It's a tough one. And a bit like I'm going tomorrow. And in the end, the experience showed. England have got to quarterfinals, a few finals. They should have the experience to step in. And they've got and this is why you have an elite manager, even though I hate talking about managers, but that you hope that that's why he's not Southgate, if that makes sense. I mean, Southgate did a
yeah,
great job. And I'm not knocking Southgate. And maybe he's that one to get him over the line with the mentality and things like that. And to quote Keane, it's their job. But I'm hoping that an early goal would be nice, and then it should hopefully transpire. The longer it goes on, the more tense it's going to be because there will be that
yeah.
1v1 chance. That's all I'm
There
saying.
will, and there'll probably be a couple of them, won't there? Or
Yeah.
Pickford will take a little bit too long on the ball and just
Yeah.
like just make you think he's gonna give it away. The yeah, I the what was I going to say? The definitely a potential banana skin. But I
Yeah.
get Roy Keane's point. Yeah, you've got
Yeah.
Bellingham and Kane,
Mm.
probably two of the best operators in world
Yeah.
football in their respective positions. But having both of them turn up should be enough to beat Congo.
I agree.
To get semis final to win it, you do need 5, 6, 7, 8 players to turn up,
Mm.
and then who who else is going to be? Declan Rice, he'll be back in.
Give you
He
one.
always turns up, but
Saka.
yeah, potentially been a bit quiet this year, hasn't he?
Yeah, a
And
bit injured.
although Declan Rice banging them 2 free kicks
Mm.
in the Champions League,
He
but
did, yeah.
other than that, he's him turning up is almost like you probably almost don't even notice he's there because
Mm.
he's very good at doing the stuff that the non-sexy stuff. But then who's going to do the stuff that's going to unlock defenses, get a couple of goals, create chances? But and then who's going to play in the bloody fullbacks?
I know. Well, I think again, you might have a go, mate. If you're not retired, have you,
Oh,
from international football? Have
well,
you?
I've just gone 2 places up the pecking order anyway. um,
Uh, It's going to be. Oh, I couldn't say. I suppose Spence. It's got to be O'Reilly and Spence. I would imagine. I would imagine we're down to
Potentially, I'm not.
those two. But do you win? I don't know.
Not.
Do you win a World Cup with those two? I'm not. I'm not
No,
being
probably
horrible
not.
again. Good players, but
Dan Burns played at fullback a bit this year, hasn't he? But
yeah,
again,
again, it's one of those. But maybe you need a. Maybe you
square
might need
peg in
that
a round hole, isn't it?
aggression. Who knows? But yeah, we'll come back to it. It's one of those. I'm gonna. I think. Look, if you're gonna progress, you've got to win these games, and there's
Yeah.
bigger fish to come, aren't there? And this is it's all like that aeroplane taking off, isn't it? It's just a gradual progression, and it's a gradual progression to a France Argentina final, isn't it? So,
And we'll be sat watching.
and we'll be going Messi v Mbappe part two.
Yeah.
But talking
60
about
years of hurt.
oh mate, well, just going on about that, you've led me in because I watched the Lightning Seeds on. I tell you, Lightning Seeds are the best band that you didn't know were your best band, right? And Ian Brody he's just a little storyteller, and he sang Three Lions.
Did he?
And it's brilliant, and it got me thinking. It is a love song. It's a love song about hope. It's a love song about dreams, and it's not all those like in 2018 when everyone was having it's coming home, and all the little pictures and
Yeah.
the social media stuff, and then it's just got a bit silly. And it's you look at that and you think, what a song, and then you're like, oh my god, 30 years ago it's just gone like that. And I don't even want to think where I'm going to be in 30 years' time. Hopefully, still doing these podcasts will be good fun. Me as a 8-year-old trying to connect to some sort of technology. But
30 years.
it was a magical moment, and it wasn't a case of being Three Lions and all that. It was actually just listen. He made it a bit more mellow as well, and it was
Yeah.
and at the
A
end he just said,
mature approach to it.
and he was like, oh, come on, England, and he was like all these years of her, and I was like. Nearly had tears in my eyes. Very emotional. You know what I'm like. So that's that. 60 years of her. We'll see, but who knows? But also, just one more thing. When the song, when England inevitably, whatever it is, gets the victory that we all crave, whether hopefully it's in our lifetime, then I still think the song's relevant because then there's still going to be inevitable hurt, isn't there? Afterwards.
Oh yeah, damn right, yeah.
Yeah.
Or someone will just probably change the lyrics, like Elton John will just rewrite it or something, and we'll make it about something else.
So yeah, exactly. So there you go. That was that. What about your World Cup memories then? What's your favourite thing? Because you've always loved your football, haven't you? So what things have you? What do you look back on? Like first thing in your mind, what do you look back on from your archives on your brain about World Cups?
I got a few. So
Come on.
So the first ever, I'm a couple of years younger than you. The first ever World Cup I remember was Italia '90.
Yeah, good.
I had one of the fake shell suit tops from the Sunday market.
I wore them to school.
I had like a wall planner, like with the little stickers that you sort of like move around, like I got a wall chart. I remember it vividly, the little Coca-Cola football. But I don't remember watching like many of the games or much of the actual football. I just remember that it was happening, but I'd have been like probably 9-10 years old.
That was me in Mexico '86. I can relate to that. Yeah.
And then USA '94, I sat and watched it all. Like although I say all as much as I could do possibly with the timings, but I remember sitting, like I had a TV in my bedroom, and I remember sitting watching every single game, like Ray Houghton's goal against Italy. Like I can literally see myself watching it now. Like the Romanian team. That's the year they all had their hair bleached, wasn't it? And
I forgot about that.
All those types of things. I remember it vividly. But then after that, you go like France '98. And so when you sent me the message and sort of said about World Cup memories, France '98 is probably the first like proper, really good actual England memories. So the wild card one would be Beckham's free kick against Greece. I don't know if you'll accept that because it's World Cup qualifier.
Yeah.
Old Trafford, 93rd minute. I remember I'd played rugby in Leeds, and obviously like typical rugby players hate football. They like won't even talk about it. Definitely. I've not been to many rugby clubs that allow football to be on in the TV, but it was on, and I remember standing watching it. And as he struck it, I remember saying to the guy next to me, like, that's in, it's in. I
Mm.
just watched it all the way, and that I can feel myself watching it now as we speak. And then they get into the actual tournament. That goal from Michael Owen against Argentina, just
Oh,
like I've already mentioned, like the little touch, getting around the
yeah.
player. He's gone far too wide. Scholesey's in a much better position. Was it Scholesey now
Yeah, it was.
coming
Come
onto the
in,
ball?
yeah.
Who's in a much better position to come onto the ball and strike it? And what's he doing, finishing it from there? And it straight in the top corner. It was like he got was Beckham's red card. Was that World Cup? Was it when
That was
he
in that
sort of
game. That was in
he
that
kicked
game.
Simeone?
Oh,
So like that. That to me, they're like when you say like World Cup England memories, that
yeah.
I can relive those moments like as we
Yeah.
speak. I tell you my other favourite World Cup.
Mm.
Fast forward 2 World Cups. Like Zidane's headbutt. I just, I don't know. I'm not condoning violence in any way.
Maverick.
I'm, I'm not a violent man. There's
No.
no place for it
What's he doing?
anywhere. But sometimes, if someone's just being an absolute weapon, like it's just funny
Yeah.
just to watch them get put on their backside, and like, I just, it's
I
just hilarious that it is so ridiculous that but like such a brilliant moment.
and literally right on the penalty shootout, wasn't it? It was right at the
Yeah,
end,
yeah, yeah.
wasn't it? Like,
Yeah,
was
and then
was it
obviously walks off past the
the World Cup?
trophy, and
Yeah.
yeah, like
Who
I
writes
don't know,
those
I don't
scripts?
whether it's good or bad, but I just remember
It's an
it very
iconic.
vividly.
It's an iconic scene, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, all those you've said to me, I'm sort of I'm smelling them and remembering them. And 98's interesting for me because 1990 was when I was like a 12-year-old, loved it. And then England didn't qualify to 98. And then 98, I'm like going out and watching it
yeah,
in bars and
you're a
pubs.
man.
So yeah, so I've missed that middle teenage year of watching England, which you would have had in probably, well, not
98.
98. And I
Yeah,
missed that. And I would have loved to have been that 16-year-old watching it, because consuming it, because I would have been all over that.
yeah,
And my one was USA 94, because I'd done my GCSEs that year. So I sort of stayed up, watched the games. I didn't have any exams,
but
and
no England.
no England. I enjoyed it
Yeah,
because I was still that sort of James Richardson, Italia, Football Italia, Channel 4, Gazzetta, and I was
yeah,
enjoying all those players because they were all obviously known to us. Uh, and then, but really, like, it's my favourite World Cup in terms of, because England weren't there to ruin it for me. But I would have loved England to be there, to be that 16-year-old with all the stats. I'd have known everything about that one.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, the Romanians and the bleach blonde hair. My my brother and his mates all dyed their hair blonde around that time, and they're just walking around Perry Gardens
Like
with
Georgie
blonde hair.
Hadley and what, Petrescu.
Uh, Dimitrescu, Hadji, and Raducoyu just bouncing around. Um, but they were good times, and you do look back and smile. But yeah, we hope we get a few more of these. And obviously just moving forward now, just very quickly, last night's results. It's a changing world, isn't it? Yes, Holland are out. Yes, Germany are out. Yes, Brazil nearly went out. But we've got it's become a global game, hasn't it? These are good
Yeah,
teams,
yeah,
aren't they?
that they are. I was thinking about this early. You know, when you think about world football,
Yeah.
and over whatever length of time you want, and you go like the big teams, Brazil, Argentina, France, Spain, Germany, Italy, England, chuck in a Portugal or a Holland here or there, but you've got maybe like 8 to 10 sort of stalwarts of world
Traditionals.
global football. Yeah, that either whether it's their domestic leagues, like individual players, or their like success on an international stage, it's almost like been like a little closed, ring fenced pool of teams. Whereas, and with the World Cup only happening every 4 years, you almost it's difficult to ever notice like new teams popping up. So you compare it to the Premier League, and you go back 20 years. Bournemouth and Brentford were like
Mm.
Division 4, solid Division 3, Division 4. teams, yet because we're exposed to that on a daily basis, you sort of see teams like that. They climb and climb and climb, like your Burnleys, that were nowhere to be seen. Now they've been established Premier League clubs for quite a long while, but you see that every year. You sort of almost don't notice that they're catching up. Whereas when you get a team like Morocco or Paraguay, somebody, or Japan, and then all of a sudden, like 4 years later, you go, bloody hell, they are a good
Yeah,
team. Not only they're a good team, but they're like Japan were so unlucky not to beat
yeah,
Brazil. How many
massively,
saves did the keeper make?
loads.
But they're good teams. And but if you wouldn't put them anywhere near the big eight, the Big Ten sort of
No,
world teams.
yeah, you make a good point because I think Morocco might be that team that are ready to break through because they got to the semi-finals of the last World Cup. They they do all right over in the AFCON. They seem to get to stages there. I don't, if I'm honest, I don't. My knowledge of AFCON is a bit shady, but I know all sorts goes on over there. But they seem to be in the thick of it. But they've got good players, and I always think like Hakimi. For me, we're talking about right backs. I think he's one of the best players in the world. Like he's a great player at Paris, and for them, as long as he not the great penalty last night, but as long as he's around with that experience, I think you can't discount them, can you?
Yeah, absolutely not. Because and they can just blow teams away. Like they're not like they are there. They are like contenders. They are up there. If you only watch like watching England is like pulling teeth sometimes. It's a bit boring. Yet they can still sort of grind out wins with just I don't know what did we say earlier. Kane and Bellingham are performing sort of close to their optimal levels, and that's enough for us to scrape through to where we are. But Morocco are probably better than that.
Yeah,
So as far as we can get, like, why can they not? But then again, go back to the other point. Like, anything can happen. They could completely outplay a team in the quarter final and lose it 2-0. It's the way the cookie crumbles. Sometimes it's a cruel sport. But yeah, I think I was really impressed with Japan. Same with Morocco. And like, if anyone's gonna have a real good chance of even just sort of like getting to a final or something, just to sort of put the cat amongst the pigeons, you've got to fancy one of those two, haven't you?
definitely. And I think those sort of teams, and I think Morocco are in a great position because like probably I'm doing them a disservice because in their nation they're going to have a lot of pressure on them because there'll be expectations because they know, and to use a phrase, this is their golden generation. And
Yeah,
there'll be pressure, they'll be thinking, no, we're here to win it. And rightly so. And I think, and I'm not patronizing them saying that, but they're also in a very strong position because when they play like the nations that you said earlier, like the Golden Eight, like they've drawn with Brazil, they've knocked out Holland, all these sort of teams are going to sort of think, oh no, we've got Morocco because they know they're going to be tough. The expectation of
yeah,
their nation is going to be, well, you've got to roll them over because we are that established team, and we know it's not like that. And I think that puts them
not that
in,
easy.
and it puts them in such a good position because they are dangerous, aren't they? They are
Yeah,
dangerous.
'cause if you think like they're potentially underdogs in every single game. Let's say
Yeah,
hypothetically they went all the way to the final. They're probably the underdog in every game, yet also probably the better team in every game, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Underdog in the sense of, like you just touched on, like they don't have I don't know, the footballing culture or history or pedigree that some of those big famous nations that have. But then like there's a bit of that is like there's an air of like arrogance
yeah.
about it, sort of like do you know what I mean? Like we're the big boys, almost like. Do you remember when Spurs tried getting in that like top
Top five.
that what was that tournament that they were like, yeah, trying to get into? I know they tried that Super League or whatever it was,
Yeah,
and it was like Man City, Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Spurs were trying to sort of weasel their way in. Um, there's a little bit of like an arrogance of no, we're big. How dare you try to beat us? Like
we won the
because
league
we're
in
we're Brazil.
1961. It's that sort of thing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like there definitely is an air of arrogance of like these like pesky little like peasant teams that are trying to break into our ring fenced elitist like
World.
footballing world. But it's like it's gonna happen. The bubble will burst. Like you stand still, you move backwards. Like yeah, fair enough. Maybe 30 years ago we had grass pitches in every village in the country, and some of those emerging nations probably didn't, but they they'll quickly. And there's when you go second, you get to see what everyone else has done wrong, and you can improve on it. And I find that where again, I might be going on a slight like tangent
No.
here with like say someone like Japan. You know when you watch a game of football and you almost like you watch it and you're like, yeah, pass it out to the right back. Oh yeah, the right mid's on, play it down the line. Yeah, now come back. Good. You sort of like it's like you're watching a game of FIFA and you just
Yeah.
sort of like you're almost
Sensible
predicting what they're going to
soccer.
do, and it becomes very yeah, something like that. But you sort of like, and then you sort of kid yourself into thinking you know professional football inside out because you're guessing these passes and that's what they do. But my point is, when you watch a team like Japan and you see one of them obvious passes like that, like just play it down the line because there's a man there, but he pings it 60 yards and switches play to the top left corner. You know, bloody hell, like that was a bit of a risk, or I
Yeah.
didn't see that pass was on because there was
Yeah.
people in the way, and they sort of like think outside the box a little bit. In 2008, we lost. So I was working for the Chinese national team, and we
Yeah.
lost in the Olympic quarterfinals to Japan. And I sat up in the stand watching the warm up with Don O'Riordan, who you interviewed back in
Yeah.
COVID, if you remember. He
It is.
was like
Yeah.
the director of football,
Great
and
chat.
we were watching the Japanese team warm up, and it was raining, pitch was wet, and they had like a coach standing with the ball and had like say three or four of the defensive players or midfield players with him, and he would like roll the ball along the floor 10 yards 15 yards, and as he rolled the ball, the player would like run. As they were catching the ball up, they would slide, hook their leg around it as if they're doing sort of like a bit of a slide tackle or just retrieving the ball. So, and then like land on their feet and then turn and like dribble the ball like quickly back into the coach, and then the next one would go. And we're sat there watching it, and we're like, no one's ever fucking seen that before. Sorry, excuse my French.
It's all right.
No one's ever seen that before in a football warm up because it's always just the same, and
Yeah.
they're thinking outside the box and they're doing things differently, and they're like innovative in their preparation and how they're training for games. I remember sitting watching them thinking, bloody hell, they mean business. Like Japan means business.
It, and as you say, that's 2008. We're nearly we're 18 years on from that, and the
Yeah,
developments. It's a lot more than the J League than when Gary Lineker was there, wasn't it? And again, and I think our attitudes in Gary Lineker's toe, and our attitudes need to change. And I feel, and I think this is the good thing with these 48 teams. I do think it's going to go 64 teams because that just makes life easy. You have the top two from 16 groups, top two go through. You have a last
yeah,
32, bang, 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 and then we don't have to have this weird, mysterious third place mashups. And I think that's where it's going. Am I a fan of it? No, but equally, I've enjoyed watching like uh your different teams, Cape Verde, Congo,
yeah,
and sort of
yeah,
seeing things happen. Yes, it's not all these sort of stats. I hate the obsession with greatness. I mentioned that in the last pod. Like everyone's desperate. Oh look, this is Messi's seventh goal in 3 games, and this is Haaland. This is Haaland's 28th touch with his right foot in the such and such minute, or Bruno Fernandes has done his 100th assist in the last 100 days, or something stupid like that. People
yeah,
manipulate all that, but what I take all that against out of the equation. Don't know where I got the Haaland one from. It's because he scored tonight. He's in my head. But it's all this nonsense. But I like seeing the teams play. I like the fact that the goalkeeper, was it the Cape Verde goalkeeper who got all the Instagram
mm.
followed, and now I think
Yeah. Like
he's
about 1 million followers or something. Yeah,
yeah. I think he might be up to like, I think I heard last time it was like over 4 million, and I
is
love
it?
that this 40-odd-year-old goalkeeper, his life's going to be changed, and he's going to be, I don't know, selling something on social media and making
Yeah.
himself a legend. So I salute that. And again, who knows if we're having this chat in 20 years' time, those countries are going to be that far on, like your story of Japan 18 years ago and
Yeah,
China
damn
and
right. And
yeah,
why can't it be like the Olympics? Like
yeah,
where I mean, to say I know it has to be 32 teams because that's the way it's always been. Well, if that was the case, we wouldn't have ever had wheels and cars, like because we've just always walked everywhere. So, like, do you know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
everything obviously has to evolve. I get people get a bit precious sometimes over little things like that.
I think if it happens, then cue the World Cup always being in America because they can deal with it. Big enough to have all these
Well,
countries
yeah,
coming over, aren't they?
the logistics does become a bit of a problem then. Who's going to host it and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But you know what annoys me a little bit
yeah,
is what I can't understand why they do this. Where they go right, you're going to play your three group games. You've got one in LA, one in Miami, and one in New York. I'm like, why don't you just say right, Group L, you're just all down there in Miami, and
yeah.
like, or all you need is like two or three stadiums within a
You,
50 miles, and then just have just two groups. You're just based there in that one place and just play all your games because you're playing the same teams. So why make everybody travel so far?
and also, having just come back from visiting my brother over there, it's like when we're coming home, flying from LA, and I don't know, it was about 8 hours into the flight, and you're thinking, and I've just watched like Moneyball, great film, Brad Pitt, brilliant film, and just watched it, having some food. I thought I'd put the map on just to see where we are. I haven't even left the States, and you know what I mean? It's a long, I know it's obviously they're not flying
Yeah,
United Airlines like I was, the players, but it's a big country, and that's why they have an
yeah,
Eastern and Western Conference, isn't it? And for,
mm,
for good reason, and hopefully FIFA would follow that if it was there again. But talking, so we've touched on those small teams. It's either setting up for an underdog winner. Hopefully, that might mean England. You know, maybe we could call them
mm,
underdogs, even though we know they're not. But maybe they should be considered sometimes. All Argentina and France have looked quite tasty, but I'm intrigued by Brazil and Ancelotti. I just feel that again we're talking managers, and there's one fascinating with this World Cup. You've got Pochettino, you've got Ancelotti, you've got Thomas Tuchel, you've got these big name managers that your big clubs would always be caught in. Like think of Manchester
yeah,
United. Any one of those could be Manchester United manager, and they probably will be when Carrick is sacked in November, I would imagine. But um, but I'm intrigued because Ancelotti, he's just you just know the World Cup is there just to be the cherry on his CV cake, isn't it?
yeah. And you, for someone who doesn't like managers, you do quite like managers a little bit, don't you?
It,
Um,
well, I'm intrigued because I think with this World Cup, because what annoys me is when if you watch like or watch and listen to like football next season, like which I know you do, you I always listen to a lot of podcasts and they just seem to be talking about the manager all the time, and I am about the players, but in this
yeah,
one I'm just intrigued because we have these marquee managers. All you're missing is Mourinho really and Guardiola, aren't you? And then we've got and
mm,
Klopp, and you've got
yeah,
and then it becomes a real sort of headline situation with them as well as the players. And I just feel if Brazil were to win the World Cup and an average Brazil, but you know that they've got the guy there. That's why they're paying him the big bucks to do that, aren't they? And I'm just fascinated by that. That's all. It's just to see.
yeah. I say I mean, we've probably had this conversation before. I talk
Yeah.
about like coaching and managing, sort of both sides of the same coin in it to a certain degree, and that like the job of a good coach or a good manager is to produce a team that plays to a level that's better than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Because if you take look at like PSG when you've got Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe up front, you've got probably three of, if not the three best forwards on the planet that season, probably three of the top five, yet achieved very little. Or they probably won the La Liga that year, but like if they hadn't have entered, like my village team might have won that league. But like in terms of like Champions League, they didn't do anything. They didn't pull up any trees. They performed to a level that was lower than the sum of the parts of the players that they had. Whereas if you can take a very average Brazil, all right, it's still Brazil, so there's still a very
Yeah.
good pedigree of player in there, but they're not. That's not a scary Brazil. You've not got Ronaldo in there. You've not got Ronaldinho in there. That's not
No.
like the Brazil we grew up
No.
watching. That you dread getting them in a competitive match because there's just no way you're gonna win it. It is a very very beatable Brazil team. But like you say, if they were under the cosh against Japan, a very good, well drilled, athletic, tactically, technically astute team, and although they wobbled a little bit, but they won in the end.
You got the job done.
Casemiro's got to be one of the best headers of the ball.
That's amazing.
He's very good, isn't he? And then Martinelli's finish right at the very end at the death is that's why you pay people the big bucks to
Yeah.
finish like that. So it's cruel for Japan, but if Ancelotti can get a very average, by their own standards, average Brazil team to get within a sniff of winning the World Cup, then yeah, you have to tip your hat to some very good coaching and managing.
Just to finish on him, what I like about him, there's a little bit of Ferguson as well, because Ferguson, if you remember, do you remember that shot of Ferguson when Mike Phelan pops the balloon and Ferguson jumps?
Yeah.
He's all like, but Ferguson used to always just sit down, like he'd very rarely come out and be in this technical area. Like I associate technical area with like Pochettino, with Arteta. They're always out there, like just waving their arms around.
Yeah.
When you look at Ancelotti, he's just sat down there watching. And I like that because it's about the players. And then when you watch Brazil play, you're not really. I know what I'm talking about now, so I'm being a bit of a hypocrite. But you're talking about Vinicius Junior. You're talking about Casemiro. You're talking about Cunha. These sort of players. Like I also forgot that Ancelotti was the manager until the end when they shake their hands and that, because they're not really showing him, because all he's doing is just sat down watching the game. He can't be bothered to stand. Well, it's not he can't be bothered to stand up, but he's like, no, I've told them they're going to do it, and I like that because it's a bit of old school that I crave and I miss, and that's where I'm going to leave it on that one. I think. What do you reckon?
I'm saying there's a reason why you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and only 1 mouth, because you should probably spend 80% of your time looking and listening, and only 20% of your time talking. Ironic, saying that on a podcast where we're sat talking football nonsense for a little while, but there is a lot to be said about just sitting, watching, observing, taking it all in, and all of the stuff on the sideline is. Most of that is a charade. It doesn't do anything.
Nah.
You've been in, even if you go to Bournemouth Stadium, which isn't a big stadium, what does it hold? 20,000?
No. It's 11,000.
11, bloody hell! I doubled it.
You did.
But
It's going up, but
you could stand there when it's packed and you can shout as loud as you like.
They can't hear.
Not anymore. Not anybody can hear. Nobody can hear you.
No.
And then what are you going to say in 2 words? Stand there and go.
I was watching them.
No one knows what that means.
I was intrigued when Dyche was in charge of Forest. All he was doing, right, he was going out there, and I was like, where I was sat was more or less just to the right of him, and he's coming out, and he just kept doing this: get it long, like that. And I was like, God, he's gonna have some sort of some shoulder injury, some impingement in his shoulder there, because it was just literally just doing that, and it was just, I don't know. It's just sometimes, if I was a player, I'd be like, oh, shut up, leave me to it. But anyway. We talked about Brazil. We're sort of draw towards a close in a bit, but what they've got Norway in the next round, and I think any team with Haaland up front. Let's bring it back to the players. I think any team with Haaland up front have a shout of doing really well in this World Cup. I would not be surprised if Norway beat them. I would not be surprised if Haaland scores, because that's what he does. I think he scored something like 60 goals in about 55 games for Norway. I think. And he's just unbelievable. Yeah.
Have you seen all like the videos of him where they're doing like little passing drills or little rondos, and like he is terrible. He's misplacing passes.
Yeah.
If anyone messes up, it's him every time.
Yeah.
You have like all the other players that are just like laughing at him about how rubbish he is. at those like silly little drills.
I,
And then how many times as well do you get to, like, you got Sky Sports on, and in the 38th minute, Gary Neville will go, Harling's only touched the ball 3 times this half, and then he
yeah.
goes and scores like 2 goals before half time. Just like
Oh,
bang bang. He's
and
just ruthless, absolutely
Ruth,
ruthless.
I saw it. I heard. I didn't see. I heard an interview. I was driving, and they said, what he just sort of said, yeah, I just think I'm just good at scoring goals. I don't know what I do. I'm just good at scoring goals. And there was
Yeah,
just like a nonchalance to it. It's like, yeah, I'm just good at scoring goals. And I'm thinking, yeah, he goes, I've got something and I'm good at it. And I was just thinking, I
yeah,
love that. And
yeah. I'll
he
try
is,
and dig
isn't he?
out the video and send it to you. It's almost like it almost looks like someone's won a prize to train with a professional football team, and they're just rubbish in every. It's a montage of clips from different sessions and different days, and I get that comedy
Yeah.
value. You sort
Click,
of
click,
try to make it
click.
look as bad as you can, but it's just funny that he's sort of like there's no airs and graces or sort of there's no, I don't know, what would you say? He's not almost not pretending to be like a Maradona type. Just the ball just
Yeah.
sticks to me like glue. It's just yeah. I'm just really good at scoring goals.
A-
Right.
and and it's the hardest thing to do. And yeah, I just think if they overcome Brazil, I think that could be England. I think England are in that sort of side. So
I think it is. Yeah, I think it
if
is. I
England
was
get
looking at that.
that far, obviously I'm getting ahead of myself
Yeah,
because I haven't talked about potentially their next game, but it would be interesting. And obviously we've got England tomorrow. We've talked about that, and as I say, it's going to be a nerve-wracking affair, but hopefully the job has come to, will be done, and we will just be looking forward to the next game. I'm happy to just get a win, see what happens, and that just keeps my interest in this World Cup a bit more. But also chatting to people like you, Lawsy, it's been good. It's been good tonight. Have you enjoyed it? Talking to your old
I have,
mate?
mate. I have. I've been on my best behaviour.
You
Obviously, it's an
have.
unknown. It's an unknown audience to me. So I didn't want to put anybody off too
Look, look,
soon. But
look,
if
Lawsy, you're a football professional, so you've got to be on your best behaviour because you know what I mean. You know those Boston boys, they need you. Obviously, I know they've heard you, so I know
yeah,
exactly. They know what you're like
they
in that
do know what. That's why.
football
That's why they
pitch.
like me so much. Yeah. That's.
Yeah,
I just. Yeah. I probably just need to rein it in a little bit in the public domain. But I. Yeah.
yeah,
No.
I think so.
I appreciate you asking very much. Shame that little Jack didn't turn up. Old Rodney Trotter himself. But you have to
We'll sort him
get
out
him on
again.
next time.
Can,
Yeah.
can you just
Um,
stand up and show us your Norwich badge? Come on, just get that Norwich badge.
I
Look at
can.
that. Look at
Take that,
that.
that thing of beauty, an original 1993, the third strip. I think this shirt was only worn officially once, beating Vitesse Arnhem, and then
Nice.
next round beat Bayern Munich, didn't we? When we were
Who,
big time.
who scored the volley?
Jeremy Goss.
Jamie Goss. And
Yeah,
who's just
what a
added you
goal!
as what a
What a goal
goal?
that was.
What a goal. And who's just added you as a friend?
Yeah, Brian Gunn. Imagine that. It was a bit right. We had like last year. We signed a lad, Jake Rooney, on loan.
Right.
Wayne Rooney's cousin. It's his cousin,
Yeah.
and his agent was Brian Gunn. And I walked in, sat there having my lunch, and one of our coaches was like, "You know who Brian Gunn is, don't you?" I was like, "Of course I know who Brian Gunn is. It's probably like my childhood hero." And they were like, "He's sitting over there on that sofa," and I was like, "What? That fat ball bloke with that skinny little ginger kid?" I was like, "What the hell?" Like,
It happens to all us goalkeepers.
yeah, I couldn't believe it. But then I got a chat and had a little chat with him. But yeah, he was his agent.
Was he good guy? Happy? You know, like you met your hero?
Yeah, yeah. He was very, very nice, very complimentary. He said he needed my help as a fitness coach too, and he was like patting his belly. He was like, "Oh yeah, I need your help."
And you're like, Brian,
Um,
just keep going as you are, mate. You're doing
yeah,
all right.
please, Brian. Yeah, you're good as you are, Brian.
You're good as you are.
Good as you are.
I wonder if that I'm not going to disrespect his son because he did make some good saves, but you know, I think Big Bry might and Big Bry's belly might have been all right as well in helping out Scotland somehow.
Could have kept the Tartan army going, couldn't he?
No, he'd have been proud of his son in goal because at the end of the day, selecting playing in the World Cup, he'd been proud and he made some good saves. So yeah, Norwich legend. Who's your favourite Norwich player of all time then?
Good question. It would possibly Mark Robbins, uh, possibly Chris Sutton, one or the other. Like, it'd be a bit close, 50-50 between the two of them. Just because they were the two. Like we just signed Mark Robbins that first year of the Premier League, banging in goals for fun. Chris Sutton obviously had a fairly bit longer career. Do you know Chris Sutton started off as a centre back at
He did.
Norwich?
I had him as my
Yeah,
fantasy football team in those days, and then he became a centre forward. But in the fantasy football days, he was still a centre back, and he scored me
yeah.
loads of points.
Oh God, when I watched him, it would have been Division One before it was the Premier League. He
Yeah,
scored like probably the last ever diving header. You don't see diving headers anymore,
yeah,
did you? Scored
nah,
the best diving header on about the penalty spot, just like a horizontal.
brilliant.
Brilliant. Um, but
And
yeah, probably Sutton or Robbins.
Robbins he scored the most prominent goal in my football fan career
Save
when
Fergie's
uh,
bacon.
well, against Forest, because again in that game, I was playing football. It was because it was live on BBC on the Sunday, and I was gone off to play for my football team, Havering Royals. And United were rubbish in those days; they really
Yeah.
were. And I got back, and again, I was just learning, and I was in the fan zone, if you like. And I was thinking they're going to lose to Forest because that's all that was sort of said, and I'd read my dad's newspaper when he'd come back from work from the building site and read what's going on. Ferguson's going to be out, blah blah blah. And then the curled ball for Mark Hughes, and I can still sort of hear Barry Davis with the commentary. It bounced. Robbins come in. Robbins, yes, he's headed it in, and it's up there my favourite goal of all time. And I was gutted when he left Manchester United. I understand why, and I was pleased. He was always someone I supported, and when he was scoring all those goals for Norwich, and I was so pleased. And I think he's been such an underrated manager as well. He's like
Yeah.
Lampard's taken Coventry up, but Robbins
Did all the dirty work.
did all the
Yeah.
dirty work, and so yeah, so. We're doing Norwich episode when we get into the season, Lawsy. All right. We'll
Well,
indulge you.
there won't be much to talk about,
Oh,
but
there will. There will. I can quickly say we've got Raw Fox, we've got Jeremy Goss, we've got Mark Robbins, David Phillips, he was Norwich,
Ian Culverhouse.
Ian Culverhouse, Brian Gunn, Chris Woods was he in goal for Norwich? I
Chris
think he
Woods,
was.
yeah, Chris Woods played for Norwich.
Steve Bruce.
Yeah.
Stevie
Steve
Bruce.
Bruce played for Norwich. Yeah, Mike
Michael
Phelan
Phelan.
played for
There you
Norwich.
go.
Yeah.
So we look at that. Look at that. Which
What other any other Man United players that play for Norwich? There's
Man
definitely
you
two more.
you're gonna have to give him me. I'm top. I'm
Beyond
off.
Dublin.
I was gonna say, Did he play for
Yeah,
Norwich? Yeah, I was
yeah,
thinking Dublin.
Dublin. And then the other one, he's the young lads recently. The little left back, right back. I don't think he even plays anymore.
Oh, no, it's not. You're not
Can't
thinking
remember
of.
his name.
Is it Williams? You're not thinking of Williams, are you?
Yeah, Brandon Williams. That's it.
Williams. Is it Williams? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But there you go. So there's some good links, but we can have a good little chat. But no, Lawsy, it's been good, and thanks for indulging me with a few of the little snippets from the professional game because it's something that I love all that,
Mm.
and it's so we have the bit of the banter on the text, but it's your opinion something I really respect, and also you tell it with a cheeky smile on your face, which can't be a bad thing. So listen.
It can't be.
Well, I'm gonna love you and leave you, but it won't be 26 years till I see you again, and we have seen each other many times in those times. But then listen, mate,
Yeah.
thanks so much. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for all you do as well, and yeah, have a good pre-season.
Will do my best, mate. Thank you for having me, and I'll happily come back. And if you're struggling for guests, I'll come in and fill you in. And like I say, yeah, any questions you've got about, like from the
Yeah,
inside of the game, just make a list of them. And if you want to
we'll do
go
one.
through, I'll sing like a canary. I'll tell you everything.
Well, listener, listen, that is going to gotta keep you wanting to come back for more. And that was our extended version of the Lonely Goalpost World Cup edition with a bit of Norwich City, a bit of Boston United. Good luck, Boston, with your pre-season. And as I said, remember, pass this pod to someone who you think will love it. Enjoy the rest of the World Cup. Come on, England. Come on, Lawsy. Come on, Boston. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for listening to The Lonely Goalpost. I really appreciate you spending your time with me as we share football memories and stories from the beautiful game. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all major podcast platforms by searching The Lonely Goalpost. And if you'd like to explore more, head over to thelonelygoalpost.co.uk for articles, memories, and updates. Until next time, listener, keep the football memories alive, and I'll see you on the next episode.